Well, I have a very vast health history. I have a lot of autoimmune disorders. I've been on prednisone for 15 years, which has caused a lot of problems, as well as it has been, I wouldn't say a cure for me, but it's certainly alleviated a lot of the pain and so forth with the autoimmune disorders. At one point, I was going to have a hip replacement done, and I had to get clearance from other doctors, and at that time it was discovered that I had two valves. I was bicuspid, and I also had a hole in the heart that had to be repaired, and no one would do my hip until I had that done. So Scottsdale Healthcare had a seminar one night for the public, and a friend invited me. It was on valve replacement, and boy, that was a special night, because it was at that point that I realized that it was the best place for me to go.
I first saw Ms. Green back in 2009. She had been referred to us for a possibility of minimally invasive aortic valve replacement surgery. She had been diagnosed with aortic valve stenosis several years ago, and this had started to bother her more recently. She was getting tired more frequently, more easily. She was getting more short of breath more easily. And she had been advised surgical intervention, but because of her some other underlying medical issues, she was not felt to be a good candidate for conventional surgery.
It was about that time that I was turned down by a couple of other doctors because that I was such high risk. I had been on prednisone for so long because of all my autoimmune disorders like Sjogren's and Hashimoto and fibromyalgia and all of those kind of things, and that I just was a very high risk to go through this kind of surgery. And also, with taking prednisone for so long, I have very bad osteoporosis, so I've broken probably 14 bones in the last few years, and having to have the chest cavity opened was going to be very risky in terms of healing.
So she came to see us for an opinion regarding minimally invasive approach, where we could avoid a breastbone incision and do a small incision to do the same operation. That incision is called a mini-thoracotomy. What we do is make about a 2-inch incision right about here between the second and third ribs in the front of the chest, and we approach the heart through this smaller incision instead of a large incision going through the breastbone.
Still, I won't say that I wasn't a little nervous. I think anytime you're having major surgery done, you are. But he made me feel comfortable that I had different options, and I did qualify for the less invasive surgery.
So we brought her into the hospital, and we made a small incision about 2 inches across the front of the chest between the second and third ribs. We also made a small incision in her groin to put her on the heart-lung machine, and that's referred to as a mini-thoracotomy approach for aortic valve replacement. The type of valve that she had put in looks like this. This is a biological valve. This is actually made from the lining of a cow's heart. So this is called a bovine pericardial valve, and this is the type of valve we put in because this way she does not need to be on any medications for the valve. There's no rejection, and there's no blood thinners required. And once this valve was placed, she's got a new functioning valve. Her old valve, which was not opening, it was very stenotic, is now gone, and now her heart can beat properly and more easily than it could when the valve was really tight.
I was in the hospital for a few days, and then I went to rehab just to recuperate, and then that next week I visited Dr. Kathuria's office, and I drove, and I went back to work. I'm a real estate agent, and I went back to work, and the post-op was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I had very little, if any, discomfort during the entire procedure.
She did very well from the procedure. She actually went home 5 or 6 days later and made a complete recovery. She told me that she could hardly believe that she'd had surgery because she felt so good. She had gone back to her original cardiologist who looked at her incision and said he couldn't believe that she had had heart surgery because of the small size of the incision and how well she looked.
I am very thankful to Scottsdale Healthcare and Dr. Kathuria for making this event in my life as pleasant as possible and for getting me back to my normal life in both real estate, the charity work that I do, and just my life in general.
Mary Lou, I'm so glad that you've done so well after your minimally invasive valve replacement operation. I want to wish you all the best for the future, And I wanted to particularly thank you for the 2 wonderful bottles of wine that you sent me afterwards. I want to wish you all the best for your future, for your health, as well as in your career as a real estate agent.
Hey, Dr. Kathuria. I just want to thank you so very, very much. I am so grateful for the beautiful job you did and for making me feel comfortable and confident and positive, and everything worked out wonderful, and I am just very, very happy to have found you.